The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Well, hello. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
And I'm CJ.
And it is Monday in the Riv, and we got a ton to talk about the MBTA. But before we do, yesterday the city again was terrorized by people on ATVs.
Yep.
And as usual, our illustrious mayor we're doing nothing about it, and it's only going to get worse.
Right.
Because now the call goes out to all the other ATVers and miscreants who want to cause problems to come to Fall River, because they're not going to get any harassment at all. They're going to be able to run free and terrorize the city of Fall River. So again, another thing that Paul does nothing about. Maybe we'll have another movie. So after they get terrorized, I was told, I did see some, I saw about probably 10 going down Eastern Avenue, roaring their engines, zigzagging in between cars. And then I got a few calls from people that said down the South End, at the South End Stop and Shop, Mariano Bishop Boulevard, in that area, there were tons of them going down the wrong side of the street again, popping wheelies, and nobody cares. Who cares about the safety of the people of Fall River? Not you, Mr. Mayor. What's going to go on? And I did text the counselor, and I said, when is this going to end? When somebody dies? When some older person has a heart attack when these people are surrounding them? Or when somebody gets upset, loses their control, and runs a few of these people over? You know, or they attack someone? Nobody cares. Like the gang problem, like the drug problem. Let's just ignore it. Have another movie. Have another parade. Cut a few more ribbons. And go on a radio, this is the segue, and say, to my knowledge, there's no cost for the MBTA.
Right.
So let's get into that little, I know this final checkbox, and I know you found something about regional transit authority you don't have, but this is, okay. You know, I'm going to start this by, I think you've read this.
Yes, I have.
This is my problem. There may be no base cost or whatever they want to, but there's too many laws, and there's too much of an outcry about what's happening with the MBTA to think that there's no cost associated, okay? So this is what I wrote. Yeah, I know that I sent a letter to Representative Fiola. She did respond to me and said that there's no cost, but this is a problem. Okay, this is what I wrote to her. Dear Representative Fiola, thank you for your quick response. However, your position, quote, that our city will not have any financial commitment beyond what we already contribute to for CERTA, unquote, seems to be unsupported. Numerous Massachusetts general laws and recent news articles seem to directly conflict with this position. Why does Massachusetts General Law Section 1035 speak to, quote, state and local contribution fund, unquote? And by the way, that section has an automatic increase based on inflation.
Right.
So even if you're not paying anything now, they say, oh, it's a wash, we're going to give you the wash. It's going to be increased. It's going to be increased based on the cost of living, and we have the greatest inflation in 40 years. So this will be a constantly increasing bill to the city of Fall River. And they're telling you there's no cost. There's no cost maybe right now the way they're interpreting it, but there is a cost because there are other aspects of this. Then the next, why does Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 161A9 state in part Quote, all cities and towns of the authority shall contribute to the Massachusetts Bay Transportation Authority, state and local. Okay, that means that we contribute. And there are a couple, and we know those laws, there's other things, there's that assistance fund. There's a whole bunch of funds. And this is where they get you. So don't tell me there's going to be no cost to the people of Fall River forever. It's like saying I'm going to give it to you for free this year, but next year you're going to get hammered. There are too many questions. Now, are we to believe that these and other laws associated with the funding of the MBTA will not be used to impose an ever-increasing, unaffordable debt on the people of Fall River? I think this is a reasonable question in light of recent television and news articles that state in part the following. These are some of the articles. WCVB Channel 5 TV in Boston and the Boston Herald. Quote, communities raise concerns about money contributed to the MBTA. The MBTA is headed to a financial cliff once the pandemic aid ends next year. Quote, more communities are raising questions about how they're paying for MBTA service. Boston Herald, MBTA approves a $2.55 billion FY23 budget, faces a $236 million deficit in 24. These articles clearly point to financial issues with the MBTA and specifically the T. I have the full articles if you desire them. These are issues that have a direct impact on our citizens and our city's financial picture. In addition, we face an even more dangerous indirect threat to our community, the Mbta Communities Law, which basically eliminates city government's control of our housing development by removing virtually all permitting, zoning, and development decisions and gives free rein to developers who have only a financial interest in Fall River, not a personal commitment and an interest in our city. This exclusion of local government at a time where the nation, our state, and our city is facing an affordable housing crisis of unprecedented proportion seems foolhardy at best. In closing, the people of Fall River are entitled to know all the facts, both good and bad. I will be reaching out to these communities identified in the articles to gather as many facts as I can. I respectfully ask that you get as much information about present and future debt we will be potentially liable for. We cannot unring this bell if we accept this seemingly failing operation moments before it falls off the cliff without all possible information. We have crossed the Rubicon. Thank you for your attention to this matter. This is a problem, and they are trying to whitewash it and bullshit the people again. Because when the bills come in down the line, they're going to go, why is this being added to the budget? And as Paul said, we're shaking the trees for nickels and dimes. Well, if we get hammered next year, and I have a little video we're going to play later about the catastrophic condition of the MBTA, and it's available on YouTube, and it's only like 3 minutes long. But they fundamentally say in that video that this thing is tanking.
Well, there's no question about that. There's no question about that.
And who's going to pick up the tab?
Well, the entire state is, and the entire state has been paying for the MBTA since the inception of the MBTA.
But wait a minute, I got to differ with you on that. There's more cost to people who are in the MBTA
Oh, there definitely.
Okay, and that's what we're being asked to do.
Exactly.
Get into that system so we can pay even more than the rest of the state. You're right. We have been, through our tax dollars, financing this boondoggle of an operation that for 30 years has gotten worse and worse, more inefficient, more ineffective, and in a deeper hole. However, if we join this, we're going to be liable for more money that these communities that are not in the MBTA, and that's the question that we need answered.
Well, I've got a letter from Jennifer Maddox, DHCD Under Secretary, and Mike Kennelly, EOHED Secretary. dated August 10th. August 10th
22.
of 22.
What a guess.
Well, imagine that. Dear local officials in the Mbta communities, today we are excited to share with you the final guidelines to determine compliance with Section 3A of the Zoning Act, the new requirement for every Mbta community to have at least one zoning district in which multifamily housing is allowed as of right and which is located near a transit station, if applicable. In December 2021, the Baker-Polito administration released draft guidelines on the new multifamily zoning requirement for Mbta communities. At that time, we stated that the final guidelines would be issued after consideration of feedback from a robust stakeholder engagement process and public comment period. The public comment period ran from December 15, 2021 through March 31st, 2022. Did you know about it? I didn't know about it.
I never even heard of it until we read about this law.
Exactly.
Until we did our research.
And how does government work? Don't tell the people.
Don't tell, just like Paulie. Just
That's right.
keep everything under wraps. We didn't even know about this law.
Right.
And we still wouldn't know about it if we didn't talk about it.
Right. During that time, EOHED and DHCD and the Massachusetts Housing Partnership conducted approximately 24 engagement sessions and collected nearly 400 public comments. We want to express our appreciation for those that participated in the important process. The guidelines we are releasing today are informed by the feedback you provided. The final guidelines incorporate several changes, including revised community categories. Mbta communities are now categorized as rapid transit, commuter rail, adjacent or adjacent small town. The bus service category has been eliminated. Significant adjustments for small and rural towns with no transit stations. The final guidelines eliminate the minimum land area required and reduce the multiple family unit capacity requirement for communities with a population of less than 7,000 or less than 500 residents per square mile. Changes to the reasonable size criteria. The guideline established circuit breakers that prevent multifamily unit capacity from exceeding 25% of a community's existing housing stock, or the minimum land from exceeding 1.5% of the total developable land.
We're already in violation of that law.
Yeah.
Because we have far more than 25% of multiple family houses in the
Right.
city. It's the majority of housing in the city.
Exactly.
So we're already not in compliance. We don't need to even deal with this law.
Right.
But guess who's going to have total carte blanche when they say
Viola.
you don't have to have any zoning, you don't have to go before the city, we have no control, so they can build 14-story units with 1 inch on either side of the property and no parking spots.
Right.
Because this is what they're going to do. This is, again, a backroom deal by our legislators. By the way, our legislators knew about this because they passed it.
That's right.
And this is what's disturbing. These legislators knew about this. And as I said in my letter, that's why I told them, they're taking control from the city. They don't have to go before the zoning board like you do. They don't have to pull a permit like you do. They don't have to do anything. All they got to do is go talk to Ken.
That's it. That's it. Tailored district location requirement. The portion of a multifamily zoning district that must be located within a half mile of a transit station now varies based on the amount of developable station area within each MBT community. Communities with more developable station area land will be required to have more of their multifamily district within a half mile of the transit stations. A community with less than 100 developable acres within a half mile of the station will be free to choose any appropriate location. So you see,
Yeah.
if within a half mile we don't have 100 developable acres, which we don't,
No.
now they can set that limit anywhere in the city.
Oh, guess who's dancing in the street?
Exactly.
But guess what? Kenny's dancing.
Yeah.
I don't even have to go even talk to these people.
That's right.
Nobody in the city council is going to call me and grill me. I just go, hey, you know what finger I'm giving you
That's
guys.
it. Yeah.
Because the legislature made this a nation within a city. We can do whatever we want. We can build a whole bunch of side-by-side buildings if we want.
Right.
And what a deal. What a
Yep.
deal.
Multifamily unit capacity tool to help communities calculate multifamily unit capacity in a consistent, transparent, and data-driven way. I love it when they do that.
Yeah.
We build a compliance model workbook tool. The compliance model will provide a GIS land map for each municipality and calculate a zoning district's multifamily unit capacity and gross density based on inputs provided by each community. This tool will be widely available for use in the fall. The final guidelines also include refinements and adjustments in other key areas such as affordability, local site plan review, and other technical matters, including updated definitions.
Well, you know, that's a lot of reading to the people, and they're not going to follow it. Let's get to the bottom line. This gives them they can do anything they want. Developers can do anything they want if they fit, if they're in. Then once they get in, this is a free fire zone.
Yes.
They can do anything they want. We have lost control of City of Fall River development.
Right.
And that's what I said in my letter to Representative Field. It's a reasonable question, because all this gobbledygook, just like if you go to Chapter 10, Section 35T, and you read it.
I tried.
It's like this long, and all it is percentages.
Yep.
But you know what it's about? Let's get to the bottom line with these things. It's about how much money they're going to get from you. And remember, this is the problem. They're saying, well, you know, you belong to a regional authority. There's regional authorities in every, or local authorities in every city and town in the state. And if that was, and if it wasn't true that this adds more cost, why would you need to put a ballot question on to say you want to join the MBTA? Now I'm going to read you something from Channel 5. These are communities that have been in here for a long time, obviously. More communities are raising questions about how much they're paying for MBTA services. Early this month, Boston City Council called for a hearing about the millions the city is contributing to the MBTA. Remember, I said millions. We may not start there, but we'll get there. Now communities such as Arlington tell the Boston Herald they have the same concerns. Arlington. These calls come in the wake of service concerns, including last week in which an MBTA station filled with smoke snarled the red line and commuter all day long. The MBTA, this is another one. See, they got all these little subgroups. The MBTA Local Assistance Fund, see, that's another fund. But it doesn't say the regional, Southeast Transit Regional Authority Fund. This is something earmarked specifically for the MBTA communities. This is the problem. The MBTA Local Assistance Fund pulled, sit down, $166 million from Massachusetts communities last year. Payment is based on how much the community uses the MBTA. So this is not about regional anything. This is about what they had. Now, let's look at this. Boston's got a lot of money, but they're concerned. Now, Arlington. Now, look, I know where Arlington is. So I looked up Arlington. I haven't done it in a while. This city, and Newton is one of the ones that's complaining about the housing because they don't want all this multi.
And they're opting out.
And they're opting out, and they're going to take the hit. Because they're going to take some of their aid away. But they don't care because they're rich. But Fall River can't do that. When we get hammered, they ruin our city. We can't opt out because we can't afford to. We live on state aid. Arlington, Massachusetts, population 47,000. Okay, now, the average household income, and these people are concerned about this. Average household income in Arlington is $138,350. Wow. Let me see. What is ours? $43,000. It's only like almost $100,000 more per family. And they're concerned. They're concerned about how much they're paying. This is full of questions. It's full of questions. And this place is in a toilet. And they're going to change the laws again, just like they changed the laws behind our back. 30 years ago, they talked about the commuter rail. It should have been on the ballot then, but it wasn't. Now they're going to ram it down our throat without answering any of these questions by poo-pooing it now and sweeping everything under the rug, and we'll pay later. And this is what they do. On August 10th, where was our legislative delegation? Why didn't they come down and say they were going to do this? Why didn't they tell us they were going to take Fall River and take it out of the hands of our government's control, our local government? And they were going to say, this is a state zone, and we control it, and you don't have to get a permit. You don't have to abide by any of the laws. You don't need it. Kind of like when they said the 21 taxpayer suit that wanted to give us money back, and they said, no, just wait a little bit. We'll change the law so we don't give you your money back.
That's right.
They're good at taking our money. But this is the problem.
But why didn't they say anything in August? Because we're still in August.
That's right.
It's an election year.
It was only 19 days ago.
That's right.
This was passed. It's the
It was-
29th.
That's right.
19, about 2 weeks, a little over 2 weeks
Exactly.
ago. This is what you got. But this is the problem that you have. But listen, I'm going to tell you how bad this is. Okay, I have to do this because this is wait a minute. I think I got the wrong one here. Let me see. This is it.
Concerns tonight are already prompting new federal oversight for the MBTA. And now 5 investigators digging into another potential crisis for the T. The agency is on the edge of a financial cliff. Our Mike Beaudet found pandemic relief stopped the bleeding for now, but that money is about to dry up.
I've been riding the T my whole life. Austin Saw has a love-hate relationship with the MBTA. It's really great and reliable when it's working, but when it's not, I've been late to meetings or missed really important events or moments.
You have to
Saw
take
takes the bus from Charlestown. Thank you. Then walks to the Orange Line at North Station.
We'll get to the financial in a minute.
On his way to Back Bay Station. If I see something, I tell them. He regularly tweets at the T when anything's amiss, from broken equipment to real-time delays.
He's one of those pain in the necks that complains, like us.
I really hope to see the T improve overall, and not just reliability, but maintenance across the board. But it could all be wishful thinking if the MBTA doesn't clean up its money mess.
We talked to him on
5 Investigates teamed up with Northeastern University's School of Journalism for a closer look at the T's shaky financial footing and the reasons behind it. Ridership plummeted during the pandemic, but federal relief funds totaling nearly $2 billion offset the losses.
Billion.
However, that money is running out.
We've had a bit of a reprieve, but I think doomsday is finally coming.
Brian Kane is executive director of the MBTA Advisory Board, which provides public oversight of the T.
They call it the financial cliff, and we fall off the cliff in 2023.
The operating
What's
budget
next
keeps
year?
the T
Next
up and
year.
running, and it's on the verge.
When they're rolling out the
Millions
commuter
of
rail for
dollars
us.
in
When we're-
red,
when we're gonna
a
join.
deficit that
Yeah,
could
the
jump
year
to
before when we're
$542
gonna join.
million in fiscal year 26, and that doesn't include the capital budget, which pays for things like new vehicles and major
They missed
maintenance
it,
and repair
500 and some
projects.
million dollars.
The Mass Taxpayers Foundation says the T needs $25 billion over the next decade, with only $12 billion available, leaving a $13 billion gap.
All right, we're going to shut this. It's available on YouTube. Why the MBTA faces financial cliff in the years ahead. So, but listen, who do you think's going to bail these inefficient bureaucrats out? You. So this is what your state delegation and your local government is doing to you. We're going to join the MBTA less than 6 months before it falls off the cliff. And think about how much you're going to, just think about this. You look at 35T9 or 161A and how they compute it on inflation. So you take the increase you would have got by becoming an MBTA user for inflation, in the worst inflation in 40 years, and now you take the fact that these inefficient bureaucrats who've been running this for 30 years, and they've been running they've been running in the red the entire 30 years fundamentally. Now they're going to crash and burn.
And the MBTA is one of the places that all the political hacks go to.
That's the other thing. That's why they're protecting it so much, because
exactly.
all their relatives got jobs.
Exactly.
But the thing is, not only are they going to the inflation going to kill us, because if you look at the law 35, it says it's based on the inflation and blah blah blah. Then you look at the other assistance fund, that's based on the inflation. One's 103%, the other one's 102.5%. But now they're going to collapse completely. So guess who's going to bail them out again? The people. Now, you got communities that have been in there forever, since the beginning of the T, like Boston and Arlington. And they're worried. And these places are rich communities. So not only are they going to destroy our housing, now we know why all these developers came running down to Fall River. They're not going to have to get anything. They're going to get no permits, no anything, and going to get TIFs and benefits on top. But who do you think is going to bail it out? So this is what your delegation kept from you in Boston, and this is what your mayor says. To my knowledge, well, I hate to say, he doesn't have knowledge about a hell of a lot of anything, especially anything that's in the law, because he doesn't know anything about the law. These are legitimate questions. All we're asking is, tell us. We're gonna call Arlington. We're gonna call these people, the city councilor in Boston who led this charge. There's a problem. There's a problem, people. We've got all kinds of videos, Channel 5 investigations, Boston Herald articles. There's a problem. And somebody just texted, what do you think inflation for Social Security costs this year? A hell of a lot.
Yeah.
I don't have the exact number with me, and I don't like it unless I have exact numbers, so if you want to text us the exact number. But just think about this. You know what? They asked you to join just when they got to the cliff, so we can jump off the cliff with the rest of these people.
Well, let me tell you what Paul's saying, okay? It's like a final checkbox. It's apparently just a procedure. Fiola said, I clearly can tell you there will not be a penny from any Fall River resident or taxpayer. Coogan said his office and the Board of Elections will be issuing some more information after the September 6th primary. We've cried for 30 years, Fiola said. The region has screamed for rail. We have it. There are people who still don't realize this is real. This is happening, and this is what we wanted. And Paul said, it's no cost to the city in any way, shape, or form. We already pay our contribution.
Well, so it's already costing us money.
Right.
And it's adjusted based on inflation. Mm-hmm. So that's a lie. And Kenny Fiola's a lie. Who said he wanted it? And he also wanted this free fire zone, because he's the guy that's going to handle all this stuff.
Well, here's an interesting thing. Remember the 16-story building on Weaver Street that they were trying to get? They presented this before this law went into effect. And they referenced this law in that they didn't have to go before the zoning board. Now they don't have to go before the zoning board. So I'm wondering what's going to happen with that development, because you know what? It's probably going to happen.
It's going to happen, and a lot more like it's going to happen, and Kenny's going to get rich, and we're going to get poorer. So they're all lying. It's not going to cost us a penny. Paul, you dumbo, we already pay.
That's right.
And we're going to pay more. So, this is absurd. Again, they're conning you, just like this. So I had to bring this in. Where is it? I just had to bring this in. Can we go? 1991, city workers, choice, pay raise, health care. They said we were broke. They lied. We had he had over $2 million in our account. They lied then. They're lying now. They said it doesn't cost anything, and it already cost you. And once we join the MBTA, it's going to cost you more. And they're lying again.
Well, I want to thank you all for watching. We're running late. Have a great day, and remember, stay safe, stay angry, and hold your politicians accountable. We'll be back with more on the MBTA later. Have a great week.
Yeah. See you.